Hi, this is Kathleen LaValle with Huntsville Tutoring Company. Today we are going to talk about study skills, and we're going to dive deeper into study skills. At the beginning of the month, I did a video about my study skill journey and how my mom helped me, even though she didn't have an education background, and we just figured it out as we went. But tonight, I want to spend time really diving into specific strategies that you can use with your child to help make studying easier. So the number one thing that I like to live by with study skills is don't get behind. Do not wait for the night before a test in order to start studying. Do not wait till 2 days before a test when you get a study guide to start studying. At that point, there is so much knowledge to cram in that it's going to be hard, and you're going to be studying for a long time in order to master the material before the test. So one of the things that I made for a student last year is this planning template. This was a student who was really struggling with studying. She's very bright, and she was used to being able to sit in a class, comprehend everything, and be able to turn around and take the test with no studying. And so this past year really rocked her world when she got to middle school and she was not doing so well on test. So we made this in order to help her. So this is just a very simple, planner. And if your child has a planner, you can certainly just use that as well. We used this because she had a planner, but I was using this as more of a teaching tool for her to help her learn how to plan. If you feel like your child is struggling with how to plan something, go back and watch my executive functioning videos, because this is part of executive functioning, and this student really struggled with that. So it was a process of learning. I couldn't just say you have to study before you get the study guide. I had to show her what that meant and break it down into smaller steps. So what we did at the end of each week is we would sit down and we would write down here what her test for the next week would be. And then from there, we would kind of backtrack. Okay, you've got a test on Wednesday, so this is what you need to study on Monday and Tuesday. Don't just write study math, study science. You need to write math, rework problems from lesson 5, math. On Tuesday, rework problems from lesson 3. For science, review study or fill in the study guide was usually the first thing that we did, and then it was study numbers 1. Like we usually did half of them, study numbers 1 through 15 on Tuesday. Wednesday would be study 16 through 30, and then Thursday would be a final review day where we would study the ones that they missed, go through all of them and pull out the ones that they missed and just study those again. And then make sure if there was going to be an essay question that we talked about that. And then Friday would be the test. So splitting it up into smaller chunks allowed her to study a little bit at a time instead of cramming Thursday night for the test on Friday. This is a process, and for a lot of kids, this is hard. So as a parent or as a teacher, you really have to walk through this with them, and you have to guide them, and you have to remind them, okay, let's look at this sheet and see what we need to do tonight, and let's do it. So then we took this and we kind of scaffolded it a little bit more and said, okay, if you're going to have to study numbers 1 through 15 on Tuesday, then that means on Monday you need to have note cards written for Tuesday. So now I want to go through and show you a little bit about note cards. Before I show you the paper version, which is how I did them on real note cards when I was younger, now we are in a time where a lot of stuff is done electronically. So there's a website called Quizlet, and Quizlet has a lot of different possibilities. One of the things that is really great about Quizlet is they already have a lot of different decks already stored on Quizlet. So if your child is using a specific program like Abeka, then you can go in and you can type in the grade level and what chapter it is, and more than likely you're going to get some questions that are already prepared for you. So that way you don't have to go in and type in things. However, you can also create your own. So this is great for spelling words, or not spelling words, vocabulary words. It's great for any type of content. You can upgrade, and I have not tried this, but they have some new features where you can take a picture of the page. Like if you have a study guide, you can take a picture of it and it will automatically upload it. I have not tried that yet though. So you just go through and you type in your title, and then you would type in a word or a term or a question, and then you put the answer or the definition on the other side. It even allows you to do images. So the sky is the limit on this. There are so many creative ways that you can put the material that is to be learned in here. And if you're a teacher looking or watching this video, then you can actually create some and you can share it with your entire class. So then you know that they are studying exactly what you want them to study. There's also a voice recording option. So some of my students, typing is slow, so they will use the voice recording and be able to add it in there without having to physically type everything. So once you get everything in there, then there's a lot of different ways you can practice. You can practice with flashcards, traditional flashcards, click it, one word or the definition on one side, word on the other. But then they also have a couple of other functions. So this one is learn. And so you go through and you click them. Okay, so see, I didn't get that one right. So it will tell me, and then it will tell me what the answer is. So this is going to be great on those first couple of nights when your child doesn't know it yet. There is a writing section. So you've got to be really careful when you do the writing, because you have to make sure that because it's going to want a word for word answer. So it has to be, maybe you give it the definition and then you would just type in the word. I don't use that one very often. Let's see what the other options are. There's a spelling option. So I think there is a way to practice spelling words. There's a test that it will create a test for you, and you can go in and tell what kind of questions you want. If you want true, false, multiple choice, short answer. There's also a matching, and the matching is a little bit different. They do it as a game. So you just drag them over. I'm not even reading them, so I don't even know. But you see I haven't gotten any right. But that one was right, so then it disappeared. So it's keeping track of your time, and then it keeps track of what you got right and what you've got wrong. And then gravity, I believe, is also, yes, it's another game. So it's gonna, so this one you have to type in the word. So it shows you the definition and then you have to type it in. So like I said, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. It does take a little bit of setup time, but it's there. And like I said, if you're a teacher, you can make it and then share it with all of your students. My personal favorite is regular note cards. And this is my favorite because this is what I used. So I used to have stacks and stacks of note cards. And what I would do is every night I would come home, and if something new was taught, I would take whatever was taught and I would write new cards. I did not have a study guide. I did not have any information from the teacher about what was going to be on the test. I just took what we learned from class that day and made my own questions from it. At the beginning, my mom helped me, but over time, I started doing more and more by myself, and ultimately, I did everything by myself. So I would do it a couple of different ways. The most standard way I would do it is write the question on one side and then the answer on the other. And then each night, after I wrote my cards, I would have a small stack. And then the next day, I would go through all the cards that I had written. I would make two piles, the pile that I got right and the pile that I did not get right. And if I guessed, because I knew if I guessed or not. If I guessed but still got it right, I still put it in the pile I didn't know. Then the pile I got correct, I moved to the side. The pile that I struggled with, I'd go over one more time. And that was it. I'd be done with it for the night. Next night, I'd take the new cards, add them in, and do the same exact thing. So by the night before the test, I typically knew most of them. And then for a while, I would take the ones I didn't know and bring them to my mom, and I would say, okay, I need help with these. And so we would talk through them and come up with ways to remember it. But sometimes I would write like the same question in multiple ways. So like I said, I had a lot of note cards. My handwriting was not beautiful on them. I'm sure the spelling was atrocious sometimes, but it got the job done. Now for vocabulary, my favorite way to do it, at least to start, you can do the one definition on one side and word on the other, but I really like making a matching game. So on one side, I would put the word, and then on the back, I would put a number. So like this would be number 1. And then on my other card, so if the word is on the blank side, my definition would be on the lined side. I would put I'd put the definition on this side. And then on the back, I would put that same number. So what this would allow me to do is I would be able to play a matching game by myself. I would lay all the words out on the table and I'd keep the definitions in a stack. And then I would go through and read the definition and try to match it with the word. At the end, after I had done all of them, then I would flip them over. You should have a match. You can do this with math equations, if you're trying to do multiplication tables or addition and subtraction facts. You can do it with vocabulary. There are so many different things you can do. And if I got a study guide that had questions, but then there was also a matching portion, or it was very people heavy, especially for history or for science, then I would definitely at least start with the matching to help me learn them. And then I would also have some questions in my big stack of questions about the people, or maybe worded a different way, but I usually started with the matching at first to help me learn it. So these are just some strategies that I use, and I hope that they were helpful. If you have other strategies that you like to use with your children, or that maybe you used, or you're a teacher and you implement them in your class, please share them below, because we can all use different techniques because everybody is different, and that's what you have to figure out, is what works for you. The note cards were my go-to system, but I know that they don't work for everybody. But just remember, the most important thing is do not wait to cram. Find what your strategy is, implement it, make a schedule, and that way you know a lot of the information before the test. And the best feeling is when you get a study guide the day before the test and you can fill most of it in. And then the parts that you have missed, then you know that that's what you really need to study. So that's what we need to think our study guide is for, as kind of like a pre-test of pretending this is a test. Let's see what we know and what we don't know. Not, let's wait until we get the study guide so we know exactly what to study. We have to change our mindset with that. Otherwise, it's just going to be cramming and cramming and cramming. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys later. Let me know if you have any questions.